to the two-timer.
Welcome back. Little
back.
little Debo action for you. It's a little bright spot in my week, given they can't be in the playoffs, you know. But Maresco, Josh, different hours today. How you guys doing?
I can't really see Josh. It's like a dark screen right there.
What?
I mean, he's got the shades going.
You shitting with me?
It's hard to see your face, bro.
Can you see us, Josh, through those?
Oh yeah.
At night in Chicago, inside.
It's only 4:00 here, bro. So we still got some sunlight.
Okay, fair enough. Well, before we get into too much, we won't really wait on this one because everyone knows who it is, and we want him around for recaps. And there's some parts of things we got to reveal with him on the call. So our guest is the international presence in the league, the one with always a solid team, always solid prospects, never quite closing the deal. But we'll see. We got this year. So welcome into the stage,
shot there,
Mr. Matthew.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Thanks for hopping on. I know it's later over there, but it's still looking pretty festive where you currently are.
It's earlier than the draft time, so I'll take that.
Well, very good. Well, as we get into it, we'll have you here for the recaps that we'll go through. But before the recaps, we do have a couple short orders of business that involve you.
Yes.
Being that you were crowned the highest scoring, the points champion of the regular season. How's it feel?
It feels good. I think this might be the first thing that I have actually ever won in our fantasy league. So I'll take that. It proves that it is worthwhile playing to kick it all year. Although sometimes they do get you -1 points in some weeks, but those extra 10 points every now and again has got me over the line. And yeah, making Ben sweat it out was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable final week there. Any before we move on from here, do you have any advice or recommendations for Josh, who is one of the lowest scoring playoff contender this year?
I mean, Josh, your take last week was pretty amazing. I think to see that back and forth. I definitely sit strongly in the camp of fantasy has an awful lot of luck involved in it. But yeah, maybe your forward planning was not as strong as you you maybe thought. But I loved how much you were going to die on that hill. That was cracking me. That was cracking me up. However anyone put it, you're like, no. It is. I look ahead and I pick my team based on who I'm playing and go from there. So I loved it. Good work.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Also, before we get into matchups, we have another little bit of Matt winning, which was Survivor this year, which ended this last week, I think, right?
Yeah, I was actually pretty furious today when I realized I can't keep picking. It's like
because you've won.
I've won, which should be enough, but I want to see how far I could get. You get into the 2-week picking part, and that was my first loss last week.
Yeah, this last week was your first strike.
One strike, so I wanted to see if I could get to the playoffs, but apparently not. So I'll play on my own phone, and we'll go from there.
I'll tally it for you and pretend that it counts. But
thank you.
Congratulations. So
Thank
two significant wins this year so far. You know, got points, got the Survivor. See if you can get one more.
One for the treble, like old school Man United.
There you go. Old school. It hasn't been that way in a while.
Very old school.
Or new school Man City.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Don't need to remind me of that Marissa. That's a tough pill to take. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get back to some of this, but let's get into weekly wrap-ups real quick. Maresco, I'll let you take this away. We'll probably, throw stuff in.
Yeah, chime in when you guys want. But congrats to Clark for breaking the losing streak, and congrats on joining the 9 straight losses club with me. It's an honor to have you in the club with me. So, but no, I mean, your team had the most points this week of any team, so kind of fitting to the end of your season. But
Right.
seeing some of those guys go off, probably nice going into next year with White and Debo if they're both keepers potentially, and then Moore. I don't know how much you got more for, but a solid week all around, even with Tua only putting up 10. But unfortunate loss for Hannah. I mean, even if she had won, I don't think she would have made the playoffs. So, but I think she didn't realize Lawrence was playing. I don't think any of us realized Lawrence was going to play. I mean, she would have had a few points, but her stalwarts, CD and Derrick Henry, obviously put up points. And then that Evan Ingram start was pretty solid all around. So pretty solid week by her. She lost, but I think she can make some noise in the consolation bracket for sure.
Oh yeah. And this one, in terms of our picks, you're going to see a lot of this of Josh on one side of the picks here.
Yeah, this is a bad week for me.
Well, this is what we needed, isn't it?
Even the
Yeah,
coin,
it
even
is.
the coin went with me, Josh. Come on.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty bad.
Worth noting here too that I still can't pick defenses because I left the Saints defense on my bench with like 30 points, so could have been worse. But another playoff implication matchup. There were a lot of games that kind of came down to what those Monday night games with significant playoff implications.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, this one with Tyreek and then Jason on Chris's team. But, I mean, Dave pulled off another win, keeps pulling off these wins and secured that bye. Unfortunate to Matt, even with the most points, didn't get that bye. But Dave got it. I mean, I think Dave's grateful for Tyreek's wife this week for texting him during the game to tell him to get his ass back in the game. But, I mean, what a spot start for Joe Flacco, too, with Geno being out. I mean, who would have thought picking up a 39-year-old would have got him that amount of points? But, yeah, unfortunate for Jonesy. I mean, made a big trade to try to make a push and then misses the playoffs. His team was solid almost all around besides Cooks. And, I mean, Sanders only put up 8, but that's still decent for a kicker. But he would have needed a few more points, I think, even if he had 1, I think he needed a solid amount of more points to pass Natalie. So unfortunate for Chris, but I think he can make a press in the consolation bracket for those $10 as well.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out at this point too. This will change going forward, but to Josh's point about playing your opponent, if either the last two opponents, Hannah or Jonesy, had been playing Josh, they would have won their games this week. So it's worth noting.
That was a lot of
They did
teams
not
this week.
play me, so they did not win.
Well, Josh, you did not win this one because you picked Jonesy.
Okay. All right. Moving on.
The coin is 2-0 and Josh is 0-2.
That's right.
Oh man, what a game! What a game! This is probably the game of the week. No, just kidding.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think I've been streaming defenses all year, and this one kind of paid off big time for me with Minnesota's defense. That was huge for me. And then Lamar obviously having a big game. I honestly went back and forth between starting Lamar and Jordan, and I'm very glad I stuck with Lamar. But Nat, I mean, we see Nico going out in the first quarter was a huge loss for her, obviously, especially with Tank being out, and then Diggs only putting up 4 points. That's not going to get her too far. She still had a pretty solid week, and she did enough to secure that last spot above all the other 7-7 teams. But yeah, I mean, she made me sweat with Aubrey going off for 4 50-yard field goals
favorite position
Sunday night. So, and a solid start by Cleveland's D. But yeah, I mean, she's still in the playoffs. I mean, I kept the 3-peat dream alive. So it was fun. It made me sweat, and it made me like worried about Monday night. Which was fun, but when Reed made that touchdown, it was pretty much over. So,
Aubrey is my biggest regret this year. I dropped him for his bye. I waited for Deshaun Watson to get an out designation, and the day before, Nat picked up Aubrey, and now, kicking myself. The guy is like money.
He's a machine.
And he's a former football player. I loved all the story behind the guy.
That's right.
And
in the MLS, didn't he?
Generally hate kickers in this game, but I liked that guy, and now he's going to pretty kill me this week. But,
Dude, every single one of his field goals was like straight down the middle with like 10 extra yards from 60 yards, 59. I was like, oh my goodness.
He doesn't even look like he's trying to kick you that hard.
Yeah,
he's just like money. Yeah,
it would be highly ironic if you were to lose because of a kicker, Matt, especially a kicker that you owned.
Yeah. Enough said about kickers. Can't stand bloody kickers.
Our picks again this week. Josh on the wrong side of things.
Yeah,
we'll get to the totals here in a bit.
Yep. The other thing I will comment on that last matchup to give Maresco props. He picked up CEH and McKinnon on the waiver wire. and played both of them. And while like they didn't like go crazy, they actually helped you out significantly because you had Connor on a bye.
I think I had 4 points from my running backs that I didn't pick up. So it would have cost me. It probably would have cost me the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got a little lucky. Got a little lucky there with Pacheco getting surgery this week. So
yeah, great play.
I wonder if anyone has ever had all 3 running backs on a depth chart on their fantasy squad before. It's quite unique. That is quite unique. Played well.
Yeah, I mean, this game, Dan did enough to get a win, but I mean, unfortunately, like, when we had him on the podcast, he said he had to win a lot and he didn't have enough points for it. So one of those 7-7 teams that just didn't really perform throughout the entire year. I think part of that was Cup being out a lot and that stuff, but Cup had probably one of his best games of the week, and then solid games by his running backs to get the win. Unfortunate for Kevin for Philly to just get shut down by the Cowboys this week. I mean, I think going into that game, he had a very good chance of winning, and then Hurts and Goddard really crushed him. So solid games by other players. I mean, Kyron looked like he was going to go off for a lot at the beginning of that game, and then kind of got shut down a little bit more towards the end of it. So unfortunate for Waggy, but I think his team is pretty solid too. Both of these teams could make some noise in the consolation. I think Kevin has a better chance at getting that victory for sure. But yeah, I mean, Dan getting 7 wins with that amount of points forward is pretty impressive, honestly. So
yeah, this might be a little toilet bowl preview. We'll see.
Not with Mike in the league.
You never know. But yeah, we all picked Waggy except for the coin this week. So congrats, Dan. To Matt's matchup, to our guest's matchup. Were you sweating during this one, Matt?
I think like once I pretty much assumed that Dave was locked up for the bye, it probably kind of took the edge off a bit. If I was like watching that live, I would have got pretty like stressed out, thinking can Barkley like overtake him. But I think like once on Sunday, it felt like it was kind of dead in the water. So it kind of less of a buzz, should we say, off it. But,
I'll be honest, I was sweating through it because I didn't want to play Matt this week. I'd rather play Josh. So I was sweating. No, a solid week by Matt's team. Obviously, we've been high on Matt's team this whole year, and the 3-back club came through for him with a lot of points. And then Purdy, I think he needs to change his team name before the playoffs. Personally, I mean, he is MVP candidate as quarterback, and he's still saying he's bad. So, but I mean, and you look at Matt's team, his receivers didn't even put up that many points, and those guys are studs. So, like, come playoff time, if everyone clicks, I think we've been talking about this all year. All his players click. Whenever they do, he goes off for 150 points easy. So, but yeah, good. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'd have been a lot more excited about those guys when I get to watch like Burrow and Herbert on the Sunday for the playoffs. And now I'm watching Browning and I don't even remember the other guys.
It's pretty rough.
That is true.
These like stud wide receivers thinking, oh goodness. I don't even know if I can play Allen this week because he's currently injured. And what is his name? Does anyone know the quarterback's name of the Chargers?
I don't even the backup dude, right? He's the dude from North Dakota.
He's Dave on the chat.
Easton Stick. He's named after a hockey stick. Easton Stick.
I didn't even know that's who started for them.
Easton Stick. Yeah, that's making me feel great about this weekend. So, yeah, the plans are a little bit in disarray, but
you'll be all right. You get McBride bite back too.
And I think like you're right. McBride and Purdy have kind of been like I lucked out a bit there with those pickups. Like Purdy's been amazing.
Yeah, and McBride. I mean, I was high on him last show. I think his connection with Murray is similar to like Lamar and Andrews kind of connection. Murray just looks for him all over the field. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll see what Mitch does in the consolation. Is it another toilet bowl for him? We'll see. But I think his team's too good to kind of get to that spot. So,
Josh's first correct pick of the week. Everyone go on Matt.
Oof, this is my last pick. Last one that I pick right for the week as well.
It's your first one.
And only one, maybe?
Oh, there you go. I keyed that one early. No surprises here. Yeah. Even the coin knew what to do in this one.
The only thing I'll say about this is another lucky win for Josh. He's playing the lowest point team in the entire league, right? So, no, but Josh's team, I mean, he had a decent week. He put above his projections, even with Evans only putting up 1 point. kind of came through. And his running backs are looking really solid that week. So his team is very solid. And if Evans puts up points, that's a 125-point week. But poor Micah, CJ Stroud putting up 2 points for him. Hopkins going off. Flowers. He has some good keepers. So I mean, I think Micah's looking to next year already. Obviously, hoping to avoid a toilet bowl loss, but I don't know. We'll see.
He's been looking to next year since, I don't know,
like week 3,
just after the draft.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Josh would have beat both of these teams. I'll throw that out there.
Yeah.
But Ben, yeah, I mean, Ben got another win. I mean, he didn't need to win it. Obviously, he's got his bye locked up. He's going to be watching next week, hoping his players don't get hurt, obviously, for the following week. But Ryan tried to put up a fight here. I honestly, I was looking at Ryan's record, and I was like 6-8 is pretty solid for how he started the season. We were pretty low on him, and he put up some good weeks and some good points. And I think he has some keepers as well. I mean, Achani, obviously, and then some others. I don't know who else he'll keep, but he's had some of the injury bug as well recently. So we'll see what he does in the consolation, but definitely, I mean, could still have the 2 newcomers in the toilet bowl potentially here, but Ben's team looking solid. I mean, even with the down week, putting up 104 points is better than probably the league average. So I think Ben's looking good come playoff time.
Yeah. 104 without a quarterback is pretty good. Josh picked correctly on this one. However, the coin went with Ryan. So the picks this week do change some things. Not a lot of things, but in, I guess, what is effectively the end of the regular season, with Maresco and I both picking well this week, and Joshy picking pretty bad, his worst picking performance in a long time, and the coin going positive, which is also rare. But on the season, Josh still retains his lead by a couple of picks. So technically, I don't know if we'll keep on picking through the playoffs. We probably should, but Josh technically is the regular season champ of our at least little pick 'em, and the coin plus guest made it to 500, which is the first time he's been there all year.
That's crazy.
All right, so we have probably a number of playoff things to talk about. Let me see what I had in the slide deck really quick. Oh, I apologize. We did have one more little bit of housekeeping here, which is Fab for this week. The category of Fab was the first team out of the playoffs, so it's kind of the initial consolation reward, which went to Dan Hinders, who finished 7-7. Did make a run after he was on the show, but didn't have enough points to squeak into the playoffs. So congratulations, Dan. You can spend Fab for the consolation bracket now, I guess. Okay. This is normally the part of the 2-timers where we would introduce our guest. So real quick, we'll just do this. This week we have on the show our fan from Great Britain, Matt. Here he is. We would normally have some interview type questions, which I think Maresco has a few, and we'll probably throw some your way.
Yeah. No, we got some for him. So we'll welcome to the show, Matt. I mean, it's a pleasure to have you on finally in the 15th week of this year. So, but first off, how are you feeling going into the playoffs? How are you feeling about your team? I mean, you mentioned a little bit in the recap, but how are you feeling so far?
I'm feeling like probably like most of us. Like I'm probably looking at a little bit half glass empty rather than half full, but I'm pretty happy with my squad. Like last year, I feel like last year's team will be the best team that I ever have in fantasy, and then it just comes to the pure lottery of the playoffs, right? And I can't help but look at Nat's team and go like, there's so many people on her team that would just be like daggers, like Zach Moss whilst Taylor's injured and sitting in my IR, Aubrey and that flipping kicker. Just like, I was like, you just know, you're like, I know that guy's gonna have flipping 50 points and that guy's gonna have 20 points and don't really need anyone else. So but yeah, no, I'm excited for it. It's nice to be in it again. I don't think I've made the playoffs that much. I think I've kind of won the consolation bracket or been pretty mediocre. But my team is probably built out of the fact that I did win the consolation bracket twice, and that 10 extra dollars is pretty useful. Is what I'd say for whoever wins that bracket.
Good point.
Yeah, for sure. So what I've asked, I think every guest so far this year on this. What's your take so far on the 14-man league, and kind of how's it changed your strategy throughout the year? Has it changed your strategy at all, or what is your feelings on the 14-man league so far?
I mean, like this has got to be the closest it's ever been, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's good. I did think like it's going to be like, are we just going to have a bunch of like randomers playing? But I think that's more down to injuries than having 14 players. And it was like going into the last few weeks and having like everyone pretty much, like anyone could make it outside of like Ben and Dave. It was like anyone pretty much could have made a run and made the playoffs, which is cool. And I think Ryan and Mike have kind of like done things differently, which is kind of fun. Like actually, like New Blood, we all were playing pretty similar ways, like going for the stud guys and then working it through. And like Ryan especially, I think, kind of God, I'm going to tear up this rule book and I'm going to do things completely differently. But like to his credit, like this team bounced back like mad. So I sneaky was hoping he would make it, because I think it would have been pretty good like a few to the rest of us who were like that team's terrible.
Yeah,
that team's useless. So I did enjoy his run, but yeah, no, I think it's been good. Been a good fun. Been a good year. Fun year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Clark mentioned this earlier, but congrats on the overall points win. Wanted to get your take on it though. I mean, you have probably 200, maybe 300 more points than both Dave and Josh. Do you feel like almost unfair that you don't have a bye this week, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel like if we could take the consolation brackets approach and overlay it on the season, then I'd have got a bye. That would be useful. I think, like, if I'm honest, it is what it is. Like, the part of the fun of fantasy is matchups, right? Like, it is. Like we kind of laugh at kind of what you said last week, Josh, but it is kind of fun to like look at your squad against another guy's squad and like go like, how the hell did I lose this week? And like you see all these things going like, you have these players playing those players and somehow they won. But I think that's the unique thing of American fantasy. And if I'm honest, it's probably the bit I like the most about it. It's like it can infuriate you, but also it's kind of funny when like and like to be fair, like Clark's the one who probably should be the most annoyed about it over the last 2 years. So I think last year he had the most points or something most of the year and was last. Something crazy ridiculous. So the fact I'm in the playoffs, I can't complain too much. But I would have loved whatever the kicker's name to not been blocked for a 44-yard field goal and have the bye week as well. But
yeah.
It is what it is.
Do you feel like anything less than a title this year is a disappointment for your team and your squad that you have put together? I mean, you mentioned last year's squad was better, but going into the playoffs,
I'd love a win. Who wouldn't, right? Like, I feel like, if I'm honest, I'd like it just for that, like, running out of the years with these guys, like ETN and Chase. Like, once you hit, you kind of need to win in that little. It's a bit like a window, right? It's like I have this kind of like cheat code for the draft for the last 2 years. So I would like a win.
yeah.
I honestly like the playoff part. Like we just talked about the matchups bit. It's just gonna. I'm ready for the pain and annoyance when like some guy who's the third running back on an average team gets picked up, 2 guys go down, and then goes off for like 40 points and somehow wins the league. But part of the fun of it.
To tag on to that, and I apologize if I'm stealing your question here, Maresco. But with matchups and with playoffs, so your side of the bracket is set. You got Nat and Dave, right? If you make it to the championship, who do you want to see on the other side of your matchup?
Ooh, good question.
Logic would say the lowest points for player in the playoffs, but you might not feel that way.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, I think I'd probably want to take on. Has anyone else not won it in our league? Who's in there? I guess Maresco, you've won it.
Maresco's the only one on that side of the bracket that has won the league. It'll be Maresco, Josh, and Ben.
Okay.
The only other person in the playoffs that's won is Dave, right?
Yeah, early on, right?
Yeah,
that's true. all you people who get to win it multiple times, all in the place. I'd probably go. I wouldn't mind taking on Ben, if I'm honest. Like, because like he's got a couple of my keepers as well. I'm kind of like deep down like to see those guys do well, and also like the stick that we got last year. It'll be nice to play through.
You mean that trade that was massively unfair?
That trade there is played out pretty well for Ben now. So it's kind of justifying the trade, I'd say. So maybe for that reason, if anything else.
That's fair. No, that's good, Clark. I had that's a question. So, the last question though would going back to the 14-man league. Is there anything you want to, as we finish up this year and go into the next year? Is there any like changes you suggest to the league or things you want to see done differently, or how are your feelings over there?
Not like in terms of the league, probably not. Like I think this is a pretty good fun fantasy league. Like my scars from last year, I'd probably like make sure that just like we've got to stop vetoing trade malarkey and just like live with the consequences of stuff. And I would love if I could make a rule change on the play. I would love pick sixes to be more punished. That's always been my number one thing. Like a pick six is like a significant play in an NFL game, and it's just the same 2 points. So I want -6 or whatever you give for a touchdown to be punished. I also, to be fair, I did say like I do think with 14 teams, like probably for like you make a decision of like there's going to be a lot of players, bad maths going on my head there, they're going to be kept. Like, do you want three from 14 players going forwards is going to make like the draft less? You could argue it both ways. It makes it harder, or it makes it like there's less people to actually draft. So I think I did say that, and I appreciate the response was kind of like, actually, it's good for, makes it more competitive, makes it more of a challenge, which is fair. But the draft's like one of the funnest parts to me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think Mike and Ryan didn't realize how. I know it was their first time doing an auction draft, right? But they didn't realize like how intense and like how you have to be strategic that day from moving. Like your season is set up based from the draft, which I love. I love draft day. So,
I agree. Like my plan this year were like out the window in like 20 minutes, and you're like. Yeah. I love that. That's the fun of it. All I wanted was Tyreek Hill or Chubb, and ironically, to go for both those guys. When I didn't get them, I was like, you're just like, what's the second strategy? And it would end up being Jonathan Taylor, which I think Dan was going for. But
you start like freak bidding players up that you don't want.
Yeah, for me, it's all about value. Like I think in auction, it's all about value. And when you just look at guys, you go like, why is that guy not going for what that other guy was going for? And I know we all value people differently, but I think probably my draft approach is a lot around value more than anything. So whether that's a good approach or a bad approach, I don't know.
Obviously, it's a good approach. You've got a lot of keepers, and you even like what you were saying with Ben, you traded away a couple potential keepers for your team that would have been. I mean, you had 5 or 6 guys that were dollar keepers and they were studs on their team. So some of that is definitely luck in some ways, but a lot of it's preparing for the draft, right, and seeing who those rookies are that could potentially break out.
Yeah, I think like it's cool, right? Because it gets you looking at. I don't watch college. I can't anymore. It's on at crazy hours, and I can barely keep up with it. But for like 2 weeks, I suddenly watch all these clips of like some random wide receiver from like ex-college, and like I like this guy. And I love the stories like Tank Dell is good friends with Stroud. I'm like, I love that stuff. Like, sign me up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good.
Oh, well, yeah, that's all I got, Clark.
Sweet. We'll keep on rolling. We'll do a little, this is how our final standings ended up going into the playoffs. I'm sure everyone can see this. Nothing crazy to go over. I did think it was kind of interesting. And this kind of, I think, just points to schedule as well, that like the points against is basically like an inverse relationship to rank in our league. Not quite, like there's outliers, but like we all know Ben had a good team. We all know Matt had a good team, but like these top 4 teams all had some of the lowest points against in the league comparatively, So nothing crazy. A little salute to all the teams here that were in the playoff bubble that just lost out. So unfortunate, but better luck next year, which brings us into the consolation bracket for this year and how it's going to run. So this did just recently change. David sent out a different slide before, and this is kind of the new or kind of finalized structure of the way the constellation bracket will work. So week 15, everyone, myself included, actually I'm the only one on this call that will be involved in this. That's a little sad. But we'll still set our lineups as usual. Yahoo will let you do it, but there'll be no matchup. So you won't see yourself playing anyone. It'll just be to get your score. So the bottom two scoring teams, or actually, sorry, the bottom four scoring teams from this week will kind of go into this bottom bracket in week 16. And then the bottom two scores from that, I also don't think there will be matchups, will go into the toilet bowl, and then the same inversely. So the top two teams, basically you want to be a top four and then a top two scoring team week to week. And then you'll end up with a chance to get the extra draft dollars, or, I guess what's the punishment? 5-minute monologue recorded and uploaded for league entertainment. So that's the punishment this year. I don't know if I can think of 5 minutes of content though. So we'll get into final kind of predictions here in a second. But for Josh, Moresco, Matt, off the top of your head, if you just had to pick one person that you think, one team that's your front runner to win the draft dollars, and one team that's your front runner to lose the toilet bowl. Joshy, we can start with you.
I'm going to go with Chris Jones. I think Chris had some bad luck, but I think he's got a pretty good team, and I can see him sneaking out one to get that extra draft fab. Not that I really help him that much, because it seems like every year now he makes a terrible trade decision of some sorts. This year he traded some of his good players and they propelled Moresco to the playoffs. So, yeah, go with Jonesy.
Jonesy to win. All right.
Jonesy to
we'll
win.
We'll get into toilet bowl picks in a second. So Moresco, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think him or Kevin. I'm going to go with Kevin. I think Kevin has a good chance of winning. I've liked Kevin's team throughout the year. I think the Eagles are pissed now, and I think Hurts is going to go off, and some of his other players will propel him. So I think Kevin has a good chance of winning that.
Matt, who do you like?
I like Hannah. I think Hannah has
Interesting.
the second hottest player in fantasy, and probably like on the best offense at the moment in the Cowboys. So I like that team is for me like the one that I thought would be way higher. That and Jonesy's probably.
Yeah.
I think like she got stung by the classic like QB carousel for a couple of her guys like Devontae. But I think she's got great players. It probably does depend on if Lawrence is healthy. I'm guessing he is because he played last week. So
yeah,
yeah,
he's back
my
at least.
I'd
Maybe
go
not fully
Hannah.
healthy. Interesting. I'm going with myself, but I'm biased, so we'll see what happens. In terms of, we'll get into toilet bowls and champions, but in terms of picking matchups for this week, we actually don't have a lot. There's only 2 games that are technically matchups, and that's going to be, let me share my screen, or share this screen instead. It's going to be some co-hosts here, which is Josh and Moresco, and then also Matt on the call, Matt and Nat. So we'll go in, we'll do a little preview of these games, and then we can make our picks. We're only going to have picks this week. So this is game 1. We'll start with Matt's pick, or Matt's against Nat's matchup. So for those that aren't involved, Joshy and Moresco, what do you see happening in this game? And then who are you picking? I can show bench if you need it as well.
Yeah, could you share the bench real quick?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously on paper, I'm going to go with Matt, right? But I think Nat's team has potential, obviously, every week with Allen and Diggs. Like, what do they do this week? Who are they playing? Can you go up a little bit? I don't even know
Who is
the Bills are playing.
Arizona?
So
San Francisco is playing Arizona.
No, the Bills are playing Dallas.
Dallas,
that could be a rough matchup for her and those 2 players, obviously. The one thing I was going to mention earlier was when Matt mentioned Moss and Taylor being out. It's like, what if Moss goes off for like 30, 40 points and is the dagger to Matt, which is definitely potential because Moss can put up those games. So, but on paper, I mean, I think Matt's team is the best in the league. So it really comes down to his running backs and what they do, and then Chase and Rice if they can go off, or if he starts Keenan, and those quarterbacks if they can get the ball to their receivers. So
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Nico Collins can play this week, because I think that's I think Natalie acquired him in a trade with Dave for Ayuk, and he's had some really good weeks. So I think that could be a deciding factor. I think at the end of the day, potentially, kind of like alluding to what Moresco said, I think Matt's team has a little bit more juice, but anything can happen. Kittle's got Arizona, so it's like maybe George Kittle goes off and scores 3 touchdowns, and Josh Allen has to play Superman and save the Bills again against Dallas. So I think it'll be closer, a lot closer than we think it will be. Would be my guess.
Yeah, that's fair. And Matt, turning it over to you to kind of your strategy for the week, and also what are the odds that you start Gabe Davis to try and steal some points away from Allen there?
He's due. He's due 20 points. It's almost like guaranteed. 0-20, 0-20, 0-20. So it's tempting. I mean, like Josh Allen is the quarterback as well, but no, I will not be putting my faith in Gabe Davis. No, I think like in a way, like my strategy's got to be like to just do the plodding to hopefully 110, 120 points and hope that's enough. Because I think Nat is one of those teams that like she could score 160 points, or like she could have like 70. I think she's got one of those like massive variance teams, and it probably all does start with Allen. Like Allen could have 45 points, and like all of a sudden you're like, crikey, I've got like a very slim chance. So I think like I kind of picked in my head based on that. Like I think Mahomes will come out pissed off, so I'm hoping that helps Rice out. And then I love volume, so I'm just picking the players that I think will get the most volume. Plus, breaking news: Keenan Allen is out, so that makes that one easy. We've got a nice little notification pop up, so it will definitely be Rashee Rice this week. So.
All right,
that almost makes that easier for you, though, right? Than to trust a backup quarterback with Keenan.
Yeah, I think I was already there on that one. Anyway, hopefully Chase isn't out as well, but yeah, that'll be a good one. Hopefully.
So quarterfinal, we'll go picks. We'll go me, Josh, Moresco, Matt. I'm picking Matt. I think his team is too consistent. Anything can happen in the playoff games, but I'm going with Matt this week.
Yeah,
Josh,
I'll go with Matt as well.
Yeah, I'm going Matt as well.
And then you get to pick as well, Matt.
Oh, I've got to pick myself. It'd be kind of
okay.
We'll do a different player.
Good.
And then let's see. I think I have. We have the coin as well. See what they say. This is a coin from your country, Matt. It's a little. I don't know what it's called, but
£1 coin.
We'll go the flowers, whatever they are. Ben will correct us as to what the flowers are supposed to be, and the queen. So we'll say queen is Matt, flowers are Natalie. Queen. So the coin is going with Matt. See if that ends up happening or not. Takes us to our next matchup, though. The only other matchup of the week. That's the second one, which is a very interesting one. 2 individuals on this call. So before we let Moresco and Josh get into it, Matt, I'll just go to you. What are your impressions of the matchup? What do you see happening? Who do you think has the edge?
I feel like it's pretty some question marks, isn't there, on the Green Bay guys? So like, Jones was out this week, I think. I don't think he played. So if he's back, that's obviously a big win. I'm a big Aaron Jones fan, and they lost, so you feel like they'd get him quite involved. It's like Detroit is obviously a very interesting game this week. Are they throwing it or are they running it against Denver? Denver is pretty bad against the run, but pretty good against the pass. So I kind of lean that towards Josh's side. Isn't it? Yeah, it's super close. Interesting. I guess it's projected to probably be pretty close as well. I like it, like they're offsetting. So like it feels like Josh has got the running backs and the tight end, and then Moresco, you've kind of got the wide receivers and the QB. and you're playing the game with the defenses. You must have picked up Atlanta. I think we're all bidding on them this week. So yeah, interesting. Is there any interesting people on the bench, Clark, for this one? Are there some decisions to be made?
Well, I mean, if Jones doesn't play, I got to pick one of my backs. But
Have you got who's your? I guess McKinnon maybe.
McKinnon or Gibson probably.
Is Pacheco back then? Was he just out for a week?
They don't know yet. It's not decided.
I feel like
Any,
that's kind of a swing, right? Like it's those injury bits that maybe a little bit for you, Maresca. Like it feels like a couple big names there that could flip it quite quickly.
Any quarterback controversy on your end, Josh? Are you willing to ride with Russell Wilson for your playoff matchup?
I'm planning on playing Wilson. I like his matchup against Detroit. Detroit's just been falling apart the past few weeks, and they're pretty bad against the pass. So I wouldn't say there's any controversy. I'm going to ride with Russ unless something weird happens.
Who did Washington play this week?
The Rams.
Well, there's been a lot of chat both on the two timers and otherwise between Maresco and Joshy this season. Are you guys gonna wager anything on this game? Is there anything? I know Josh, you were gunning for this matchup. You really wanted Maresco in your side of the bracket to play. What are you guys thinking?
Yeah, it was actually fun. I think both of us were gunning for this matchup. We were texting a little bit during the Monday night game, and this was before Barkley scored any of his touchdowns or anything. It was just like, I just need Barkley to score. So I was actually rooting for Saquon to go off. Because I've been kind of running my mouth, and so it's like I gotta take down the top dog. So it's, I've changed my tune a little bit. I feel like it's appropriate that I show some respect here to the two-time champ. Middle run here at the end of the year. He made the trade with Jonesy kind of to get some good keepers, but kept himself in the race. So it's an honor to go up against such
What is this? You're being nice now? Come on, get out of here.
Great opponent. Did you?
I wish I could say some nice things about you, Josh, but I just have nothing coming to mind.
Don't be true to who you are, Maresco.
No, I would say we were texting, and I was rooting for Matt because I really wanted to play Josh this week. And I mean, Josh has been in the playoffs when he's in the league. I mean, his team last year that Kevin took over obviously made it the championship as well. But no, it's a rematch of the championship 2 years ago. Gives Josh a chance at some revenge, but fortunately, he's going to have to wait another year for that. But no, I think it'll be a fun matchup.
Could be 2 years. I mean, Josh is known to quit the league after losses like this.
That's true. That is true.
Good point.
I would say, I don't understand. I mean, if Reed's not playing, I understand that projection, but Jaden Reed goes off for more than 6.85 points almost every game. So that projection to me is very low every week. Now my tight end obviously is hurting with Mark Andrews going out for the year. So I have some holes, and I will say if Jones doesn't play, I think I can plug that in, but getting Connor, it'll be interesting to see. Getting Connors from Josh for Thielen after that trade I made with Jonesy was huge for me because I didn't have any good backs. So lucky that I got to play the Kansas City backs last week, but Connors could be a potential game changer for me moving forward. So
fair. All right. Down to brass tacks, picking teams. Matt, I'll let you go first. Who do you think wins this one?
I'm going to pick Josh. I'm just looking at the matchups. I like his matchups more. I think he's got some pretty favorable ones. So I'll go Josh.
Josh, Chris, are either of you going to pick the opponent's team?
No.
I am not, but
I
wouldn't be surprised if Josh did.
Yeah, no, I'm going with my team. Got to show some confidence here, but also some respect.
I'm also going with my team, so it's up to you, Clark.
Well, I'm going to make a purely emotional pick and go for Maresco.
Of course
It's
you
nothing to do with what's on paper. Just how I feel about it.
I wish it was because it was on paper, but we'll take the vote. We'll take the vote.
This, I mean, honestly, Matt's matchup isn't too dissimilar. It's just like
Yeah.
anyone, like someone could go off and then that's the game, right? Or someone could just not show up and then that's the game. So it's really tough to make a consistent pick.
Yeah.
But we'll go back to the coin. Queen can be you, Joss. Flowers can be you, Moresco. Coin goes queen again. So we'll see if that ends up being correct. Now, that's all the picks we have for this week. There's actually no other head-to-head matchups. Everything else is pool-based or buys. But the one thing that we do have that we can do, because we haven't done this in a while, is pick our championship contenders and winners and our toilet bowl contenders and toilet bowl loser at this point. So, Moresco, you're actually the only one on this chart from like half the season ago that still has both as viable options.
All four are viable.
You could get all four.
options.
You could lock all four. So we'll start with you. Do you want to change any of your championship or toilet bowl picks? And then who do you think is going to win the league, and who do you think is going to lose the toilet bowl?
No, I'm going to keep my championship. Got to stay true to my team. Got to keep that there. As far as toilet bowl goes, I'm going to keep Micah in there for sure, and as I'm losing it. But I'm going to put Mitch in there instead of Ryan.
Oh, to be fair, Ben makes a good point. You can't actually be in the championship with Ben.
Oh, I am playing Ben. That's right.
Yeah,
So
you're in
I
the same side of the
Ben.
bracket.
I'm going to put.
So you
put
got
Matt-
to
put
switch
Matt
up a
in there
bit.
put Matt in there for me.
Okay. We'll have to cross this one out. All right. So Matt Moresco, and you're going Ryan Micah still?
No, Mitch Micah. Then
Mitch
losing.
Micah. All right. There we go. We'll leave this one as is, and we'll check it at the end of the year. Joshy, how about you?
Well, I'm sticking with Matt. I would say I wish I kind of knew, even though going with Matt, because Matt would play Dave. I kind of wish I knew how Dave's squad was going to shape out with the injuries and stuff. But yeah, I'll stick with Matt. And then I will pick myself, actually, to replace Hannah.
So you're going to be the runner-up?
I will be the runner-up.
Fair. And then toilet bowl. Who you got in the toilet bowl? Tankin down in the bottom.
I'm going to stick with Micah, and actually, I'm going to stick with Ryan. Stick with my previous prediction.
Okay. Ryan losing?
Ryan losing.
All right. Fair enough. I'll do mine real quick. I think Ben still makes it. And then I think Matt's also going to be in the final. So I'm going to go Ben, Matt final. And we're just going to coin toss. Queen will be Ben. It's Flowers. So I'm going with Matt winning the championship. And then I'm not changing anything in the toilet bowl. It's going to be a Hinders Fest. Micah, unfortunately, probably going to claim toilet bowl punishment this year. Dan, good run, but you are always bound for one place and one place only. So that's how I'll leave mine. Matt, we'll let you go now.
I think already called me and Ben in the final, and I'll pick myself. I feel like I've got to have some half class ball, and then I do think Michael will be in the toilet bowl and played Micah. And I'm trying to go through the teams. I think Hannah will win it. So who does that leave?
I was hoping you'd say Hannah would lose the toilet bowl, and then we could have you going her for both of them.
I think. I think it could be just someone that's surprising. So maybe there's always someone just drops down randomly. So I'll choose Weggy.
And who loses this?
Micah.
Okay. We'll make it the appropriate color then. So there you go. Championship and toilet bowl predictions. We'll leave this as is. Matt, you were the guest here, so you'd get a permanent slot here. We'll see who I don't know if we can really wager anything. I don't really want to put draft dollars on this, but it'll be interesting to see who calls it.
Clark, the other picks we could do is pick the top four for next week, but I don't know if we have time for that. Just say like that we could get points for that.
Points for this?
Like the top four
like from
consolation
our
guys. We pick
These
the top
ones?
4 constellations. That way we have a chance of
So
catching
just
Zach.
pick who ends up in the top 4, and you get a point if it's correct. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, there's 8 teams, so it'd be the same. It'd be the same total pick points, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. So we'll do points. Here's the table, and then we'll end on this. So anyone who's 7 down, which 4 do you think will end up winning their match? It'll be the 4 with the highest scores, right? It's basically out of these bottom.
2 extra to the ones you just said, right? Because you can't.
Yeah, those 2 can't be in it, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, you won't be picking.
It'll be 4
you wouldn't
of
be
the
picking who
others.
you picked for the toilet bowl, right? So no one's
4
going to
of
be
the
picking
others.
their toilet bowl selections. But the question here is which 4 do you think will advance? Who will have the highest points? Which 4 teams will have the highest points? I'm being as confusing as I can be. Maresca, we'll let you go first.
All right, I'm going Jonesy, Kevin, Hannah, and you, Clark.
Let's go. Joshy.
I'm gonna go Jonesy, Kevin, Hannah, and Mitch. Definitely not you, Clark.
Interesting. That was you just moved Dan aside and picked the next top 4 teams, huh?
Yep.
Who did I have in the toilet bowl? I had Dan and Micah. So I'm gonna go Mitch, myself, Hannah, and Jonesy.
And I'll have Jonesy, Hannah, Mitch, and Ryan.
And Ryan, interesting.
Achan, Kamara. You can go a long way with that sort of starting point.
That's fair. All right, that's interesting. That'll be an interesting one to have to tally next week, but we'll put the picks together. I think that's all we have. Nothing else planned. Matt, thanks for being here.
That was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I don't know if we have a clever closing question or anything like that. Josh, you got anything?
No, I don't.
Josh, did you want to wager anything, Josh?
Yeah, you guys' this is the matchup. This is the highest stakes matchup you guys have this year.
I'm good. I don't want to wager anything. I just want it to be a good matchup.
Josh, what are you doing?
Wow.
What do you throw down, Maresca? You throw something down and see if he'll
I mean, I'll throw whatever down. I'll throw amount of money. I'll throw another hot yoga session. I'll throw whatever this man wants.
I almost feel like you guys need a rivalry trophy, maybe like a ring or something that just changes hands depending on whoever's won the most recent matchup between you two. I mean, that requires procuring something. So
all right, the loser buys the ring and sends it to the other person.
Yeah, there you go.
Sounds good. I'll do that.
All right. Well, on that note, best of luck to everyone in the consolation bracket to put up points this week. Matt, best of luck to you. Josh and Maresco, same to you all. See what happens. It should be an interesting week. Alrighty.